This podcast is produced by the Portland Press Herald. Visit our website at pressherald.com.
Hi, this is Greg Kesich, the editorial page editor at the Portland Press Herald, and I'm here with Sarah Collins, my colleague on the opinion page, assistant editorial page editor Sarah Collins. We deal with a lot of opinion. We have our own opinions, which you might be familiar with, and we hear a lot from other people who have their opinions. Sometimes they write us letters to the editor. Quite often it's the comments that you see on the end of stories and editorials and columns. And we read those comments, maybe not all of them, but we read a lot of them. And we just wanted to read a couple of them for you today. So Sarah, what have you been seeing this week?
Well, our editorial yesterday on making it easier for people fighting addiction to access medication-assisted treatment got a lot of response, and some of those comments were very, very moving, obviously from people who had been there. One of the commenters said, "I've had family members who went through the living hell of heroin addiction withdrawal, and in the process put my family through an experience I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Without medication-based withdrawal treatment, they would be dead now. They have been clean for years. People who have limited to no experience with addiction get so sanctimonious and self-righteous about what they have no first-hand experience with, and then until you've been there and back with family or friends, stuff your opinions."
Yeah, that's interesting. That's the kind of thing we get in the comments that is not necessarily would be included in the story, and it's an interesting point of view to add on to a discussion.
Right, because people might not even say it in a letter if they're not ready to sign their name to it yet.
Right. I got one on that topic. It was about the King and Collins signing on to the big federal bill. And it was from Naren Rose Spalding, who is a regular commenter, who said, "Great, another expensive bill that doesn't include a funding mechanism. Way to go." And then in case you missed the sarcasm, she wrote, "Not." It's hard to juxtapose that
Right.
against the personal experience that guy was talking about, or woman. We don't know. What else you got?
A lot of reaction from a Peaks Island resident who wrote with feeling about the problems getting a seat on the ferry to and from the island during the summer when it's crowded with tourists. Mark Usinger, another regular commenter, said, You're asking an awful lot from a poorly run waterfront transportation system in a poorly run city. Perhaps if Nick Mavadonis actually showed up at work at Casco Bay Lines once in a while, things might run more efficiently." It's worth noting that Nick Mavadonis is also a city councilor.
Yeah, that's one of his hobby horses. He's always attacking Nick Mavadonis. He's got a few others. He calls the paper all the time, and he's a regular commenter. And I guarantee you that somebody in the newsroom has got a Mark Usinger message on their voicemail right now.
And someone named Steve Anderson, on a sort of a more conciliatory note, says that it sounds like a community dialogue with the mayor's office and Casco Bay Lines would be a great idea. And in the meantime, perhaps a compromise is to form two lines, one for island residents and the elderly, and the other for visitors. Allow both to board concurrently, no preferential treatment, and residents can get to and from their home almost as easily as the rest of Portland's residents.
Yeah. It's interesting. I know why residents would want to have a car on the ferry, but I don't really understand why visitors would. It's such a small island, Peaks
Right.
Island anyway.
I mean, for me, that's the bonus of it. You can get anywhere you want, and you don't have to have a vehicle.
I had a column this week about how politicians lie and we don't hold them to account for it. In fact, we forgive the politicians who we agree with and we attack the ones we don't. For examples, I used Governor LePage and some of his misstatements. I got a lot of pushback saying, why didn't I use Hillary Clinton, which I certainly could have. And then in the comments, one guy came up with, I believe it's a guy, came up with a endorsement of Clinton that I don't think she would really want. It's from SMH Johnson. "Clinton lies. I believe she knows when she lies and does it to further some agenda. Trump lies, and I don't think he knows it. Lies just spew out of him, and those lies constantly vary. I see that as a man who is out of touch with reality, and that is an indication of severe mental illness. For that reason, I will vote for Clinton."
Not a really ringing endorsement.
I know that, but that's sort of the choice. I think
Yes,
a lot of people feel like they're marching on to. Whose lies are more dangerous.
Right. Moving on from the shortcomings of the candidates to the shortcomings of editorial writers, commenter Fred C. Dobbs asked in regard to our editorial this morning on federal subsidies for farmers who grow the ingredients for junk food. Who's getting paid to write these editorials? Lately, they've been getting dumber and dumber. The poor are being abused with free fattening food? Give me a break. This sounds like it was written on a tablet by some scrawny millennial vegan tending a worm garden. Even meat is bad now because it's made by feeding critters the same awful stuff being stuffed down the throats of the poor.
Fred C. Dobbs, I'm sorry to say that he's taken his screen name from one of my favorite movies, Treasure of Sierra Madre, but it's not a very sympathetic character. It's Humphrey Bogart. He goes crazy and kills all his friends. So I mean, it's not the avatar I would have chosen, but
is he the no more stinking badges?
He's the one. Yes. He goes crazy for gold.
Okay.
And you're right. That's the guys that kill him are the ones who say no more. I don't need no stinking badges. It's a fine movie. He starts as a panhandler, and we got a lot of comments on the editorial that ran the other day on the sensible practice of zipper merging, encouraging people to let cars in that when a lane closes one at a time, so therefore both lanes keep moving, and how some states are trying to make that kind of common sense practice work in real life and as a matter of state policy. And a lot of people actually thought it was a good idea. I was surprised. I was expecting people to say, "Oh, I'm sorry to the government telling us what to do," but they could see the benefit of it. Except for another frequent commenter, Ken Indy, who said, "I have to confess, before I give way, I check the plates. If it's a mass car, they do not get in." So don't tell the tourism board that's how people decide how to drive in traffic, but I guess there are the official rules, and then we all make our own rules, right?
This is true. And one last car-related comment from a Mr. 618, who was responding to a letter to the editor from a now part-time resident who's irritated that living in Florida disqualifies him from getting a Portland residential parking permit. Mr. 618 says, if Mr. Perkins gets a permit, that is one space that would be unused yet unavailable for his time down south, which is insane given the parking issues in Portland.
Yeah, right. I think somebody maybe needs to give him a little lesson in what residential means.
Right. He's not paying income taxes in Maine.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a driver's license in Maine.
Right. Residential means you live there.
Indeed.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for this time, and we will be back with more of our reader comments.
Thanks for listening to this Portland Press Herald podcast. You can send us email at podcasts@pressherald.com. Visit our website at pressherald.com.